Hey guys, good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. Today's Monday, June 5th. It is 6:24 right now. Market's going to open in about 6 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and set this room real quick and we'll get started shortly with our analysis for today. Running a little late today, guys. Sorry, I got caught up with like a bunch of questions in my DM. So lost track of time, but it's okay. I'm going to go ahead and set this up real quick and we'll get started shortly. So, thing here, update. All right, looks good. So there. All right. All right, guys. Morning, everybody. Happy Monday. Today's Monday, June 5th. It is 6:26 right now. Market's going to open in about 4 minutes. I'm just going to go ahead and mark up liquidity real quick, guys, so we don't forget about it or miss it. Let's start looking at the daily first real quick. Sorry for running a little late today. I had to answer a bunch of questions in my DM, so got sidetracked for a bit there. All right. I'm just going to mark up the closest liquidity because it's kind of pointless going super far out. Especially I don't expect price to go that far out, so just marking up the closer liquidity points. $30-minute. So as you guys can see, if you guys have my high-low indicator, it's super easy to mark up liquidity. It doesn't really take much work. It's really just identifying the time frames and marking stuff up. But for the most part, it's not that difficult. All right, 10-minute right here. All right, perfect. So I pretty much got all liquidity marked up right there. Wasn't able to really identify times, but yeah, so liquidity gets hit over here. It looks like that's going to be the point. The range over here looks pretty far, so I think if I do go for liquidity, guys, I'll probably only go for 100 pips. See, there was news today. So there was no news pre-market, but there is final services PMI at 645. So we have news over here at 645. Yeah, we got news coming up over here at 645. So that's final services PMI. We have ISM services PMI at 7, high impact factory orders. Some more news at 7 o'clock. And that's about it. So we got news at 645, news at 7. Market's going to open in about 1 minute, guys. We'll see where this ends up going shortly. See who's here so far. Morning, Dan. Morning, Javier. Morning, Kenny. Morning, CJ. Morning, Maria. Morning, Hussein. Morning, everybody. All right, guys. Market is opening in about 40 seconds. Sorry, that's my issue. Hey, see, morning, Shannon. Morning, Alor. Morning, guys. Morning, Sarah. Morning, Barack. Morning, everybody. All right, guys. Market is opening in about 20 seconds. First area of liquidity is going to be right there. There's going to be another area of liquidity down below. As I mentioned, if I do look for these entries here, I'm probably only going to take it for like 100 pips because the volatility is not super high, and 300 pips is actually kind of a big push. Let's take a look at the overall bias. There goes opening bell, guys. Market is now open. It looks pretty neutral on the lower time frames. Higher time frames looks bullish. So looking over here on the 1 minute, 5 minute, and 10-minute prices in between the pivots. Pivots are pretty much just in the middle. Trend meter is red, so it's pretty much neutral right here with regard to the lower time frames. Higher time frames are obviously bullish. You can see prices above the pivots. Trend meter is green, and the pivots are angling up across all the time frames over here on the higher time frames, 30-minute, 1 hour, and 4 hour time frame. So right here it's bullish. Lower time frames are neutral. So we don't really have a technical bias right now per se. Looking over here at the fundamentals are currently neutral. Looking over here at retail sentiment is currently 63% short. So we might be looking for buys today long term. So we'll see where price ends up going. Anyways, here is the liquidity chart. I'm probably not going to take a sell, guys, if it comes down. It looks like price is likely going to be a buy. So if it does come down here, it might fake out and then swing up. As you guys can see over here, it's 63% short. Retail sentiment is very high. So I think if it does drop, it might drop a little bit, but not necessarily strong enough for it to hit liquidity for the full 300. So I'm probably not going to take this sell here for liquidity, guys. There's just a lot of things pointing towards the upside. So I think if it does drop below, it's probably going to be a temporary drop, but eventually it's going to swing right back up. So we'll follow through and see where it goes, but I'm probably not going to take this liquidity to the bottom. So just a FYI for you guys. So it looks like liquidity there is going to get hit. I'll follow it, but I'm probably not going to take this sell. I'll probably wait for it to swing back up. Only because everything here is pretty much bullish. As you can see over here on the higher time frame, it's pretty bullish on the 30-minute, 1 hour, and 4 hour. So if it does drop right here, just hit liquidity. You can see I can see a fake out happening back to the upside. So if you guys want to take it, feel free. But as I mentioned, I'm not going to take this liquidity right here. So if you went for 100 pips, looks like it already pretty much hit. But again, as I mentioned, it's a bit risky. In my opinion, it's a little risky because I just did the full analysis right there. And short term looks like it can be bearish, but it's not necessarily that strong. It's more on the neutral side. So if you took the sell right there for 100 pips, would it hit your full TP? We'll see if it pushes for the full 300. I doubt it, but I mean, we'll see. Market can really do anything today. As you guys know, Mondays and Fridays are the riskier days to trade. Mondays because people are re-entering the market from the weekend. Fridays because people are exiting the market for the weekend. It's always like a bit of a toss-up because some people have pending orders from over the weekend. They're getting filled. And as you can see, that's how you get this like spike in volatility right here, but it's not very strong. So, hey, Sai, good morning. All right. All right, Hussein, I saw your request right there. I just enabled it so you can record it if you like. Hey, Dan, how's it going? Morning. All right, so you guys are in this liquidity push, great. Looks like you probably would have hit your TP already. I'm gonna wait for it to swing back up. What I'm gonna do here now is I'm gonna go and mark up opening price so that we can identify where price is likely to go back up to. Opening price is right here. So it's got a long climb back up if and when it does come back up. One thing to look for might be something like a V1 variation for correction. So we got one right there, 6:30. Good clock. Looks like there's a V1 setting up right there too. That looks like a nice V1 pushing up to the upside right there. Here is the clean chart. So I want to set up some markups here so I can identify where things are sitting. All right, so this is a range right here. You guys can see from my clean chart. This is the range where price is currently at. You can see price kind of bouncing around right now. Not necessarily looking like anything too crazy here. So I took that V1 variation, guys. It's not going to count as an official trade because it's not an official trade that we're taking. But you guys can see right here, I did identify that as a V1. The reason why I was looking for the V1 there was because I mentioned that we have a strong bullish bias. So Jason is asking, is it a sell today? I don't think so. I'm identifying it as a buy, Jason. So I took the V1 variation right there, quick 100 pips, locked in about 2,000 off that trade. Down right there. So took this V1 variation right here. I'll mark it up in the chat real quick. It's not accounted as an official trade. I'm just going to show you guys because I'm going to post profits so you guys know exactly what trade I took there. V1 variation right there. Let's put this right here. We'll TP on this V1 variation taken on the live session just now. So it's not going to count as an official trade. I'm just going to post it there so that you guys can see where my profits came from. It was pushing up right there very nicely. See how it's pushing right back up? This is what I was expecting because we had a bullish bias, right? So I don't want to take the sell down here. So that's why, as I mentioned before, like the bias isn't really required, but so it's not required because you could have taken this for 100 pips and you still would hit your TP, right? But it's preferred and it's recommended because you can get caught in a fake out if you're like trading against the bias. The bias right now is bullish. So that's the main reason why I'm looking to take, I wasn't looking to take any sells and I was more so inclined to take buys instead. So yeah, I'll post my profits right now. Let me see. I think one of my MFFs is getting a payout. So I only got profits on 4 accounts today, which is okay. I try to get the payouts on the same day, but for some reason, I don't know. I forget. I get an email and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get a payout, and it's only 1 account, not all of them. Anyway, so here is my account so far. You'll see 1 account 0 because that's my MFF that's getting paid out. The trades aren't copying to that account right now. I just always get like super caught up over the weekend that I don't remember. So anyways, yeah, there's my profits. I'll take individual screenshots right now. I'll see price pushes back up, so liquidity up here. Possible buy. All right, I'm gonna clean this up. This is a clean chart right here, guys. So clean chart right here. You guys can see prices within this range. You see where price is rejecting directly off of opening price. So that's why I draw opening price there, because you can see that's where manipulation happens, right? Look where it's coming straight back down, directly off that blue line. So all of these lines over here that go across the charts, they're all important. And again, right here, there's another area where price may likely get manipulated, right? The sessions. So 2 areas right here where price can basically fake out, opening price and the Asia low from yesterday. But I mean, we'll see. We're not gonna get too well, we're going to be like a little more patient because we don't want to be taking stuff that's too risky. Obviously, right now it's a little risky. Price is kind of all over the place. There's no clear direction. We do have somewhat of a bias, but it's not very strong. It's more of a bullish neutral because retail sentiment is like 63% short. So you want to do the opposite. The fundamentals right now are somewhat bullish. Only 22 points up. They're not very high, but they're still green. And then the technicals over here. The higher time frames are bullish, lower time frames are neutral. So if they're neutral, you're going to go with the higher time frames, obviously bullish. So we have a bullish bias at the moment. Edwin's asking, you're using Social Trader to copy your trades. Yeah, that's the only copier I've used, Edwin. I've never used any other copier. That's the only one I've been using for years now. All right. So let me take a screenshot of my profits real quick as we have some downtime. There's no entries right now, so you guys aren't missing out on anything. There's no high level momentum scalps coming up. We're just pretty much waiting for this to follow through. Hussein's asking if we had a high level momentum scalp at 636. No. This candle already broke and closed past the pivots, Hussein. The momentum signal has to break and close past the pivots, not this one right here broke and closed past the pivots, not this one. So same question you had over the weekend. It's the same setup. I think you're confusing the requirements. Like it's pretty simple. You just have to look for the momentum signal to break and close past the pivots. This over here broke and closed past it already. There's no momentum on it, right? So there's no entry. This right here is already past it. So at that point, you can't even move on to the next step. So if you guys are looking at the criteria, make sure that you're going step by step, Hussein. I think you're skipping a step. So if you go step by step, you won't mess it up, right? Because I feel like you're skipping the second step. You're like going from 1 to 3. Because first you have to look for a higher high, lower low, which you did right there, right? Higher high or lower low right here, actually. And then you need to identify a valid momentum signal. You're skipping a step because you're going to step 3 and you're seeing that everybody broke and closed past it, but you're skipping step 2. So you just got to go in order. Step 1, 2, 3. If your step 2 isn't met, then you can't go to step 3. But no, that's not an entry right there because it can't already broke and closed past it on the previous one. So just make sure if you guys are looking at these strategies that you're going through the steps in order, because if you skip a step, you're going to mess it. Like it's going to be a completely different strategy. So no entry right there, Hussein, because this one right here happened after it. Yeah, but okay. So Hussein, do you see where I'm trying to get to? Because the momentum is there, but look at the requirements, right? There's no momentum right here, Hussein, on this one. So that you can't move on to step 3. You're skipping step 2 because there's no momentum on this candle, right? So you're skipping from step 1 to step 3, but you didn't even look at step 2. There's no momentum right there. So make sure you go over them in order. You identify the lower low. Second, you identify a momentum signal, right? There's no momentum signal. So you can't go to step 3, but you're like ignoring this step every time. It's the same question you asked over the weekend. Just go over the examples and look at the stuff there, but you have to go over these in order because you're skipping a step. You're basically looking at this candle right here, but this one's already done with. Like this one broke and closed past it before. You get that, Hussein? Because you've had this question before, and I just want to make sure that you're like understanding it because after you've seen a couple examples, you should be able to understand. Let's see. Hussein's asking, let's keep these questions for the mentoring section, Hussein, because right now we're trading live, so I don't want to go over these examples right now and then miss a trade. But just listen to what I mentioned earlier. Go over each step one by one because you're skipping a step. You keep going to step 3. So just go step by one, like, in order. And then it should make sense because the criteria are very, very simple. But we'll go over that later today. So guys, if you guys want to attend the mentoring session later today, we're going to have it today, normal schedule, 2 p.m. And we'll answer questions in detail. But yeah, we'll cover that later, Hussein, because I don't want to miss any trades here, like going over questions that are just kind of relevant at the moment. Because we're going to miss these trades if we keep focusing on like going over examples during live trading. Let's see if there's anything else over here. Well, Saidam said that he took the V1, total 200 pips. He found the last 30 seconds of the candle to be very important. Yeah, no, that's really what it is, Saidam. I usually wait for the last bit of the candle to close. If it closes very strong, then I just take the trade usually right away. Yeah, no problem, Hussein. Glenn, morning, guys. All right. So I took the screenshot of my profits over here. Let me make sure they're different, of course. See, I'm just going to screenshot this. So there's no entries for us right now, guys. You guys don't have to worry about anything at the moment. If we have some downtime, Hussein, I'll go over the example again. But right now, we just want to make sure we don't miss anything. Because typically, if I'm answering questions, we kind of miss the actual entries. So I want to make sure we don't miss anything here. I'm looking for some buys, though. We'll in a few, we'll take a look at we'll look at the buys again overall, see if anything's changed. I think it's still bullish though. However, price is going sideways right now. As you guys can see, price is starting to squeeze. Price starting to squeeze right here from this high to this low. And when price starts to squeeze like this, it prepares for a breakout. So a breakout's probably going to happen within, I don't know, the next 30 minutes or so. And then we'll take it from there. All right. Clean this up a little bit right here. Let me send in my profits real quick. And if you guys have profits to send in, feel free to send them in. And then we will we'll look them over. All right, let's see where we're at. All right, so there's not really much going on in the market right now. It's pretty much going sideways. It's starting to consolidate tighter and tighter. So here's the clean chart. Let's mark up the zones a little closer so that you guys can see a little better how price is starting to squeeze. All right, so here's our clean chart. As you guys can see, the farther levels are basically the tops and bottom. Here's the top, here's the bottom, and then there's another range within here. So you can see how the price is getting tighter and tighter. It's just ranging sideways down here. Let me show you guys my profits for the day so far. So here's my main account. You can see the green strip. This is my main FTMO, locked in 2,320 for the day. Here is my FTMO number 2 account, total profit of 2,320. Here is my MFF number 1 account, total profit of 860. And then my second MFF account over here, total profit of 860 as well. My third account is getting a payout right now. So it's not, you can see right here, it's a 0 because it's not copying my trades. That account's currently disabled while I get my payout in. Here's Kenny. Kenny locked in a total profit of 1,080 for the day. Nice work, Kenny. So solid profits right there. We've got Kenny right here, 1,080. And then we have Vincent over here, total profit of 330 for the day. All wins. Nice work, Vincent. All right, guys, solid work right there. We'll keep waiting for another opportunity to come up. But right now, there's just nothing for us to take at the moment. I'm going to go over and I'm going to review the bias again so that you guys can have an idea where to trade. For the most part, it's looking like a buy right now. But price is going sideways, so price can break out in either direction. All right, so we got a sideways range right here. We just passed news. Thanks, Rick, for letting me know. News right there at 6:45. It was low impact, so it didn't really have too much of an effect, but still, it's news there. Glenn's asking, did you take the first V1 after liquidity push? Yeah, I think that's what he took, Glenn. We both took it at the same time. Me and Simon both caught it. That's how I made my profit right here. Took a V1 variation. It's one that I posted right here on this. Like that first double body right there that came up. All right, price is pushing up slightly over here. This is a reaction to news. See, Jason said, hopefully we get to 3,400 today. No, that definitely would not happen. I just looked at the price. That's like way far up. Yeah, let me see. That's like a 2,000 pip. Well, I don't know, maybe it could happen. It's not necessarily impossible, but it's a pretty big push. It's 1,960 pips. So 196 points from where price is currently at. The volatility right now is pretty low, so I don't think we'll get that far. Maybe by the end of the day, but I highly doubt it. As you can see, price is just squeezing. It's not really doing anything right now. It's going sideways. You can't really see it too well here because there's a lot of stuff on the chart, but if you go to the clean chart where I marked up right here, it's very obvious, right? Price is just rejecting off both of the highs and lows right here. Lots of rejections right here, lots of rejections right here, not really any direction. Price is really just going sideways. So we'll see where this ends up breaking out to. It's going to break out in either direction at some point. Within the next hour or so, it's going to break out to the upside or it's going to break out to the downside. You can't just keep ranging like this forever, right? It seems like the market makers are probably like just luring in buyers or sellers, mostly sellers, I believe, because there's a lot of people who are selling right now. They're probably going to fake out. So I think the pattern to look for here would be a break and retest of this continuation, or even a break and retest of opening price. Something like that. But you can see that price is like literally doing nothing right now. It's just going sideways. All right, we got nothing here right now. Let's do a full analysis of US30. So let's start off with the higher time frames first. So looking over here on the 30-minute, 1 hour, and 4 hour time frames, you can see that price is bullish, right? Price is bullish because price is above the pivots, the trend meter is green, and the pivots are angling up across all of the time frames right here. So on the higher time frames, price is bullish. On the lower time frames over here, price is neutral slash bearish, I guess, because price is now starting to shift below, but it's not very strong. You can see our prices in between the pivots. Price is below on the 5 and price is below on the 10. Trend meter is red and the pivots are angling down. So lower time frames here, short term is bearish just for the moment. Higher time frames are bullish. With that said, we have a pretty much neutral technical bias. There's no technical bias right now. Short term is bearish, not very strong, but it is bearish. Long term is bullish. Going over here to the fundamentals. Fundamentals are pretty much neutral right now. As you can see right here, the Dow is currently down 13 points. Not very much. In order for it to be bullish or bearish, price needs to be below or above 100 points. If it's not below or above, it's just going to be neutral. Because right here, price can easily shift. It's currently red right now. It's down 13 points. In the next couple of seconds, this can easily shift up and be, positive 20 points. So there's no bias right now with regard to the fundamentals. Lastly, looking over here at retail sentiment, this retail sentiment indicates where all the retail traders are currently trading right now. So right here, you can see that it says 62% short. This means that 62% of retail traders are currently selling right now. So majority of retail traders lose at trading. So you typically want to do the opposite of them, right? So if everybody's selling right here, I'm possibly looking for a buy. However, the only problem here is that there's no bias, right? If you had a second bias with regard to fundamentals or with regard to technicals here, then you'd have a better idea as to where to trade. If you're identifying this as bullish, then you do have somewhat of a bias, but it's on the higher time frames. So right now we currently have a neutral bias. It's a bullish neutral bias because sentiment here has a heavier weight in comparison to technicals, because technicals can change very quickly, and same with the fundamentals over here. This can change pretty quickly. This can change pretty quickly. But the sentiment over here doesn't change very quickly. This will pretty much stay 60% all day, unless there's a big change in traders. So we'll we just gotta wait and see where this goes. But right now, price is literally doing nothing. As you can see, price is still going sideways. Nothing to look at here. And then we do have news coming up in about 8 minutes. Thanks, Evan, for the heads up. Let's see, iPhone's asking where's the buy liquidity sitting? It's sitting up here. On TradingView, it's pretty high. I mean, it's not that high, but it's high in comparison. It's about 500 pips away. So that's where liquidity is sitting. It's a bit of a distance. Not super far, but it is. Like in relation to the market volatility right now, it's considered kind of far, because market's not really moving. If you look at every candle here, and I don't even like how these candles are moving. Look at how big these wicks are. The wicks are huge. So just expect a breakout. I think you got to wait till 7 o'clock, guys. It seems like that's the case right now. It seems like market's just kind of going sideways until news happens here at 7. This news event is a high impact news event. It's final services PMI, I believe. Let me check. It's ISM services PMI, high impact right here at 7. So right now the forecast is to be positive. So if that's the case, you might see that breakout to the upside, possibly, but just be careful. Obviously, I think it's a restricted news event, so I'm obviously not going to trade it. I'll see how market affects, but I'm pretty sure it's a restricted news event. PMI is usually restricted. It's basically like direct inflation news. So we'll see. Forecasting to be positive though. So if that's the case, it'll work in our favor. I actually want price to come down a little bit so that when news happens right here at 7, it's gonna blast right through up, like it's just gonna correct back to the upside. So I see this right here as a temporary drop. And then when news happens, it's just gonna shoot right back up. Kind of what I see happening. So this is all manipulation I see. Right here as price comes down. We'll see what happens in the next 5 minutes. News is coming up shortly. Let's see, Barty said it will definitely take out all the sellers holding above and we can grab liquidity. Yep, exactly, Barty. So Barty, like where your head's at. That's exactly what I'm seeing too. So I see this as being, a temporary push to the downside. And then when the news happens, it's going to come up. And then when it comes up, it's going to stop everybody out, right? Because whoever's chasing the sell right here, their stop losses are sitting like right here, right? This is where everybody's stop losses are sitting. Like short-term stop losses, people who are trading on lower time frames, this is where the stop losses are. This whole area is probably going to be an area of liquidity. So when news happens in the next 5 minutes, if price pushes to this area right here, then it's going to just blast it right through even higher. And then when it gets to this area right here, it's going to shoot it up even further. Right? Because then there's all this liquidity right here. Look at all this higher time frame liquidity. So if you got a lot of traders over here trading on the higher time frames, like the 1 hour, 30-minute, 4 hour, this is where their stop losses are sitting. Short-term traders, their stop losses are probably right here. The long-term traders, or not even long-term, just intraday traders, their stop losses are sitting up here because that's where this liquidity is sitting, right? So we'll see. I mean, there's no guarantee it's going to happen, but you can have an idea as to like what's going to happen in the next, few minutes or so, because the news is going to come up and the news is supposed to be positive. So if the news is supposed to be positive, then if market does what it's supposed to, it'll go up. However, price may be manipulated. So might push up, come back down. You might get something like this. So price might continue dropping or go sideways a little bit right here. 7 o'clock happens. It'll probably push up, drop sharply, come back up, and then range again before coming back up like that. So you might get like a messy move like this. So we'll see. We will see where this ends up going, but I'm not going to be taking any risk here. Got about 3 minutes. Here's Zach. Zach locked in a total profit of 2,020 for the day. Nice work, Zach. So as you guys can see right here, Zach's on a winning streak. Every day he's had profits. Pretty solid. 3,000 on the 31st, 3,000 on the 1st, 3,000 or 2,000 on the 5th today. So nice work right there, Zach. All right, price is starting to dump super heavy right here. Here's a breakout that we were kind of expecting when it broke out of this structure, but I think this is going to be a fake out. I think this is all manipulation. Price coming down right here. When the news happens at 7 o'clock, it's probably going to blast all the way back up. So, I mean, maybe look for a V1 variation somewhere down here. But yeah, I wouldn't mess with this, guys. This is just pre-market news or pre-news movement. News is coming up right here in about 2 minutes. So I think this right here is just manipulation. Eventually, it's probably just going to blast right up. All right. Let's see where this goes. Yeah, you just want to be careful when you're looking at these types of entries, because it looks like it can be a lucrative entry if you try to hop in. But the problem is we don't know if price is actually going to shoot up after news happens right here. They're predicting it to be positive, but I mean, I don't know. You can't really predict news. Like even if the news says it's going to be positive and it is positive, price can still come down. It might eventually go up, but this can easily, go in any direction. We got about 50 seconds till news. I'm kind of curious to see what happens here. Let's see. So people who are trading news, either a lot of people are going to make money off this news spike, or they're going to lose a lot of money. I'm not going to be one of them. I'm just going to watch them and see how price reacts to this here. But it looks like it's going to shoot up because there's a big drop right here. It's probably going to fill this whole gap. That whole price gap right there, because this is like a random drop right here. I can see a lot of people chasing the sell. Then after the news event happens, you're gonna get stopped out. Got 20 seconds till news. 10 seconds. Let's see where this goes. Three seconds, 2, 1. News is released. There he goes. Price pushes up. Let's see if it actually pushes through. Kind of a messy candle here, as you guys can see. Bring this up right there. So see the huge wick on top right here. It's trying to push up, but it's like getting manipulated still. It's like they're not trying to let it push up yet. Seems like there's a lot of sell orders here probably. So price tried to push up right here, got pushed down. And it didn't really have its opportunity to push through. So there we go. There we go. There's the liquidity right there. It's starting to knock everybody out. See the news real quick. News was, let's refresh it. News is actually negative. So it actually wasn't good. It was negative, but price is still pushing up. So they're forecasting it to be positive, but it was actually negative. It was 5.1, it was 51.9 last month, and then it was 50.3 this month. They were forecasting it to be 52.6, but it was actually less. But you can see price is still pushing up. It's going to stop everybody out. All that liquidity I told you guys about right here, it's knocking all those people out right now. Stop loss hunt. Damn. Did exactly what we anticipated. See that? Boom, blasted right through everything. Total stop hunt. So I marked it up for you guys over here, right? I told you guys all the liquidity was sitting right here. I said, everyone who's trading short term, all their stop losses are right here. So when price got to this area, it just stopped letting everybody else out. I was like tempted to hop in, but I'm not trying to be risky right now. And it's news, so I don't think I can trade this news event. But there we go. Everyone got stopped out who was chasing the sells. Hopefully you guys did not chase that sell. You guys listened to me. Because if you did, everyone here just got slaughtered, just like CC said. So you guys can see liquidity works on all these time frames. It works on the lower time frames too. Like you can see the higher highs right here, they haven't been tested. So all these areas right here are liquidity, right? There goes liquidity right there. As you guys can see, when price spiked up right here, it knocked out all that liquidity. It didn't get to the next level up here, but it did knock out all that liquidity. It's going to retrace back down now. And then it's probably going to come back up later. But I mean, it did exactly what we anticipated. So if you guys are listening to my analysis, you know, I'm not just saying random stuff. I'm literally telling you what's going to happen because I've seen these patterns play out before, especially because the news forecasted to be positive. So as soon as price got through that like little level right there, blasted right through, stop loss hunt. A lot of people don't understand like how these stop loss hunts work, but it's really just identifying where people place their stop losses and then catching the wave. Because here we go as it comes back down. Now that this has been wiped out, this is no longer useful, right? That's why I don't mark up tested highs. I only mark up highs that have not been tested. So yeah, Satyam said it was a news candle, so did not take top liquidity, felt risky. Yeah, exactly. Same here, Satyam. If it wasn't a news candle, I would have taken it, but it was a news candle, so it's just too risky to take liquidity at that point. Because price can easily fake out. You don't want to get caught in those fake outs. Now that price is up here, I mean, price might be, or the bias might be shifting now. So let's take a look at the fundamentals. Fundamentals are, I mean, they're still neutral. They're -4 points, which is nothing. Because Apple hits record high ahead of VR headset unveiling. And Apple can sell you guys anything. They can put anything on the market and anyone will buy it. VRs have been around forever. Now that Apple's sending out a VR, everyone's going crazy over it. It's crazy. It's all about the marketing and branding. But let's see. There's not really anything to look at here. Aside from that news I just passed. Spotify just laid off 200 people, about 2% of the workforce. The Russia-Ukraine war is still going on. A lot of people have forgotten about this, but it's still going on. There's just a lot of like little things that are happening behind the scenes, but not necessarily anything that's going to affect the market super, super heavily. let's check the news for this week so far. So we had the ISM today, services. Tomorrow we have nothing high impact, surprisingly. There's nothing high impact tomorrow. We have the IBD TIPP, economic optimism. This happens like every month, but nothing high impact tomorrow. Wednesday, we have trade balance, crude oil. Thursday, we have unemployment claims, wholesale inventories. And then Friday, we have nothing. Yeah, so this is actually a slow week for us with regard to news. So the market might be moving a little slower than usual this week. Today was the only day with like high impact news. The rest of the week, there's not really much news coming up. So I think the market might be very, not slow, but it's going to be pretty, you're going to feel the slowness. We are in June too, so we're getting closer to summer, guys. As we enter the summer market's going to start to slow down a bit. It's going to start to consolidate a lot more, range a lot more, but it's completely fine. So we have a strategy for that. So just, just keep that in mind. Kenny's asking, hey, Sean, I'm old, but what is Apple VR? VR stands for virtual reality, Kenny. So, if you have, it's like a VR headset. Like if you put on a headset, it kind of feels like you're in a different world and you can kind of see stuff in front of you. I'm pretty sure you've seen a VR before. It's just Apple has their own VR now. Let's see. Yeah, Dan said, I think there's another one of those virtual reality glasses, just Apple branded. Yeah, pretty much like the Snapchat glasses, if you guys remember that. The crazy thing is that people still use those. Like there's this girl in my gym, she was wearing these like with fake glasses, and I was wondering what they were, and she's like, oh, I'm taking Snapchats on my glasses, like her workouts and stuff. I didn't realize that people still use those, but it's pretty much the same thing. They're just virtual reality. Like it's kind of cool because you can control stuff. I guess like if you have a Mac or something, you can probably just touch it on your like you'll wear the glasses and you can see stuff in front of you, where you can like just make commands and enable things. Yeah, D said, seriously, Apple has a following. Android fans are rolling their eyes at this tech. It's not new, it's been out for years. Yeah, exactly. Hussein's asking, the 1 minute high level momentum scalp will work in summer conditions? Yeah, it should. I mean, as long as you're probably not going to find as many entries, but it's still going to come up because high lows they're inevitable. They're going to come up regardless, right? It's just the movement's probably going to be a lot slower. So you're going to see a lot of smaller high lows. So you're going to see something like this, Hussein. You see how it's very choppy right here? You're going to see a lot of this more often versus the bigger ones. Like, right now we have these bigger swings, higher high, comes down, lower low, and it swings higher. But during the summer, you're probably still going to have entries. It's just going to be a choppier market like this. Conditions, it's just a slower market. There's always going to be momentum. The thing that I like about the high level momentum, or not the high level momentum, but in general, US30, is that US30 never really gets super flat. It's not like Forex pairs. Forex gets really flat during the summer. So if you trade any Forex pairs or currencies, you're probably not going to have any entries for those. For US30, as long as you stick to the times where the market is volatile, between our live session times, you'll still find entries, Hussein. There should be no problem finding entries for any strategy, not necessarily just a high level momentum scalp, but just all the strategies in general. It's just going to be smaller moves. Like you can't go for like big 500 pip moves or like 1,000 pip moves if you're using the higher time frames. You just got to stick to the lower time frames, go for 100 pips here and there, and you should have no problem. Kenny said, LOL, I thought that drugs did that kind of thing. Yeah, I know, back in your time, right, Kenny? Kenny was around during the whole hippie phase. I mean, they still do. I don't know how much Kenny's experimented with it, but you are right, Kenny. Yeah, so you can do that with your VR, and I'm sure you'll have a blast. Let's see, C6 said, yeah, there's an industry out here trying to push it into the world hard. Yeah, well, it kind of happened with like NFTs. If you guys remember back then with NFTs, like, what was his name? Like Zuckerberg, right? He tried to like push for Meta for like super hard. Like if you guys have been following the news of like Facebook and Meta, like he's been putting like billions and billions of dollars into like the metaverse or whatever, but nobody is like caught onto it. It's too ahead of its time. So I think once Apple brings out like the VR sunglasses or whatever they're making, it's, you know, the metaverse would make more sense because then they're going to have the whole Apple consumer base interested in VR. Yeah, Dan said he blew like 40 billion. That's crazy. He spent way more than he did on like on Facebook, which is crazy. Nice. Satyam said that he plays Resident Evil Village with VR. I can't play games like that, so I'll trip out. All right, so I know we're going a little bit off topic, guys, but don't worry, we're not missing out on anything. There's no other entries here. So let's go back to that example real quick. Hussein, since we have some free time here, let me just clean this up a little bit. So let me show you an example where there is an entry. So let me go over here to this candle right here, and I'll show you the difference, right? So this right here is a high level momentum scalp. This is an actual entry. Right here, you can see there's a higher high. You can see that the momentum candle is breaking and closing past pivots 1 and 2, right? So this is where you're kind of messing it up because you're not looking for the break and close with the momentum signal. Momentum signal right here is breaking, closing past the pivots 1 and 2. So this right here would be an entry for a high level momentum scalp. This is an entry right here. You can see right there, it blasts right through, full TP. This is an actual entry for the strategy. Here's the one that you mentioned. So this is the one that you were talking about, the next one, right? So this one right here is different because you can see there's a lower low. This candle right here broke and closed past the pivots 1 and 2 already. There's no momentum on it. So there's no entry off that, right? This is the candle that you identified, but it's too late at that point. This here would not be a high level momentum scalp. Do you see the difference right there, Hussein? Because they're like right next to each other. So you can see it's a pretty clear difference between them two. And they happen right behind each other. So if you go back and look at the one that happened right before, this one was an actual entry and this one here wasn't because the momentum signal didn't break and close past the pivots. Okay, perfect. Yeah. You just got to keep looking at more examples, right? I think the more and more that you see the examples, the more it'll make sense to you. I think you're just kind of skipping a step, which is fine because it's still new to you. It's just your catalyst is always going to be the momentum signal. So if you look at the momentum signal, make sure that that momentum is breaking and closing past the pivots. You don't really care what's happening before or after. You just care what's happening on that specific momentum signal. And that's going to confirm the entry. Because if you look at all the strategies here, the catalyst for everything that we take is going to be a momentum signal, except for the liquidity push, because we're already confirming momentum. But everything else is pretty much based off momentum. Like the pivot scalp, you're looking for a momentum signal. Momentum scalp, same thing. High-low scalp, not exactly the same thing, but slightly different, but you're still confirming it before. Hussein's asking, pivot should touch the body of the candle. So I think you're kind of overcomplicating it, Hussein. There's no requirement, right? If you look at the requirements, nothing says about pivots touching the body or the wicks. There's nothing, like nothing says that. So you got to keep it simple, Hussein. If the requirements say to follow these rules, then follow the rules, right? There's nothing here that says it needs to touch the body or that it needs to touch the wick. You're kind of just creating your own requirement there. That's not even part of it. So, you know, easy answer to your question is no. It doesn't need to touch, and it doesn't need to touch the wick either, because it's not part of the requirements. Price just needs to break and close past the pivots. There's no need for it to touch the body or whatever, like you're mentioning, or the wick. The candle just needs to break and close past it. So just go back and review this requirement. Because I feel like this is the one that's really throwing you off. Like you don't understand the third requirement right here. Because there's nothing here that says you need to touch the body or nothing that says needs to touch the wick. So just read this over and understand that. Because if you understand that, I think that'll make all the difference. Because you keep saying like, you ask for these questions that like are not pertaining to the strategy. And I think that's what's confusing you. So yeah, keep it simple. Don't try to make your own strategy. Just, you know, follow the requirements as they're put forth. Because if you start to add stuff, it's gonna make a lot, like it's gonna confuse you even more. All right, so there's no entries for us to take right now, guys. It's still pretty much, I mean, price is still dropping. Let me just update these real quick. So let me mark up the high and the low. So we've got the higher high right here. I'm not going to mark the whole thing. I'm going to mark up partial. So we got the higher high right here. And we got the low right there. So price is just in a big range. You can see right here, price was in a tighter range right here. And then it broke below and it just created a bigger range. So price kind of had a smaller range right here. As you can see, price is going sideways. It faked out right here. Faked out right here. And it came down below. And now it's just ranging down here now. So it's not really too much going on here. I mean, the market, this is kind of expected for a Monday. Most of you guys know this. Mondays are just, they're just kind of messy like this. They're either like really good or they're either really messy. Today's really messy. Not too much going on. It's just a lot of sideways movement, fake outs in both directions, and break out into another zoned area over here. Eunice is asking, do we still hold a buy stop? So I don't even have a buy stop there. I don't put any pending orders at, Eunice. I mean, if you want to keep it up, you can, but I don't have a buy stop there. I never set pending orders like that unless it's like happening really quickly. Like if price was around this area here and I was comfortable with taking the trade, then I would put the buy stop there, but I never leave a buy stop just like sitting there. So it's up to you if you want to leave it up there. That's still liquidity. It's still considered liquidity. It's just price is so far from it that I'm not expecting it to get hit anytime soon. It's about 1,300 pips away. So it's got a long way to go until it reaches that area of liquidity. I'm actively monitoring the market anyway. So if price does come back up there and I feel like I want to take the entry, I'll just enter it manually. I don't necessarily put any buy stops there because the last thing you want to do is price to like get to that point, like maybe like 2 or 3 hours from now. It triggers the order and then it comes down because it's overextended, right? Because that could happen. Like, it's happened before with like with a few other people. You just don't want something that's pending for too long because you don't know if this is going to happen. Like you don't know if price is going to shoot from this area down here and then go straight through and then come back down, right? Because that could happen if it's overextended to the upside. So for me personally, I don't have it on. So if you want to keep it up, feel free. But if not, I'm just going to wait. I kind of want a messy move anyways. I want price to do something like this. Instead of having a straight push like that, I actually want price to push up a little bit, consolidate, push up, fake out, come up, consolidate, and then blast through. I want something like this. That's kind of what I want. Yeah, one time I wasn't paying attention. Yeah, so Dan and CJ here just identified a high level momentum scalp. I missed it myself too. I think the candle might have been too big. Let me just check real quick. Candle was a little big. I mean, it's not too big, but it's a little big. You can see right there. It would have been a tight trade. So I wouldn't have even taken it, guys, if that came up right there. Because whenever the candle is big like this, it's gonna have to retrace to the candle. Usually, it retraces before it ends up pushing back up. And that's kind of what's happening right here. Price is pulling back a little bit. But if it does swing back up, I can see it pushing up higher. So it might retrace a little bit, but if it shoots back up, it'll probably push up even higher from there. It'll just continue the push to the upside. Let's see what this ends up on. Yeah, see how prices are retracing right here? It typically will like retrace to like the candle size. So that's why I usually don't like taking trades when the candle's too big like that. However, it is bouncing off the sessions right here. So, I mean, you might get a bounce off here and then it'll just shoot up from that point. But yeah, not necessarily one that I would be interested in taking because the candle here is just a little too big. Yeah, exactly. Hussein said the high low momentum just blasted. Yeah, Hussein said the candle size is still smaller than the stop loss, but it's pretty close. Like you want to have at least some cushion there. As you can see, it's still going to retrace. It's going to retrace. It might not retrace to the whole candle. It might retrace like half the candle. Typically, when you have a big candle like this, it'll retrace either to the half size or the full candle. And then it'll probably correct back to the upside. But I think what I'm liking right here is the fact that it's at the sessions. So this manipulation could actually be beneficial. It can manipulate to the upside. Or it can manipulate to the downside. I mean, it could really go either direction. So let's see, Hussein said like if it's 200 pips above, I should avoid it if I'm targeting 100 pips. Let me see. Sorry, Hussein, I don't understand your question. What's your question? You said like if it's 200 pips above, I should avoid it. What do you mean by 200 pips above? 250. So you're saying basically if it's candle size is 250 pips plus. Not necessarily. If it's the size of the candle, so if you measure this right here, Hussein, it's like literally right at it. It's like about 300 pips. 250 pips, that's fine. Like it doesn't have to be 250 pips. But I'm saying if it's bigger than the stop loss or if it's really close to it, like you have to like basically weigh your pros and cons on it. Like for example, right here, this is like basically what I was just saying. If the candle is big like this, it's going to retrace to the size of the candle. And then if it comes back up, it's probably going to blast right through. But it didn't. So it never came back up right now. If price ends up coming back up from where it's currently at, so like see where price is currently down here. That's why sometimes I tell you guys, I'm going to wait for it to pull back and then I'll enter late. Because if this happens where price pulls back and I have a buy stop just waiting right here for it to fill later, like I wouldn't be surprised if price comes back to this area right here and then goes right through, because that's typically what happens. But back to your question, Hussein, yeah, I think you're overcomplicating it again, right? I just said like if the stop loss is bigger or it's close to it, then that's fine. But if you set it to like a set number, like 250 pips, you're gonna avoid a lot of trades if you do that. So just try not to overcomplicate it. I feel like you guys are trying to be a little too careful. Like you want to have like exact parameters for like what to follow. But even if you have exact parameters like that, you're probably not going to follow them. So you kind of have to play it by ear. Like for example, let me just show you real quick with this right here. So say this was an entry, right? If I set this up like this and I was like, okay, I want to take the trade. Look at where like the candle is, right? It's like literally at the stop loss. So I'm not like saying, oh, I have to go for 250 pips. Because if I do that, then that should just be your stop loss then. Your stop loss shouldn't be 300. Your stop loss should be 250. Because if that's the case, then you'll just skip the trade, right? But then at that point, you're just changing the strategy. The strategy is completely different at this point. But if you leave it at 300 and you can it's not hard to look at it. You're just like, okay, it's really close to it. I'm probably going to wait for it to pull back a little bit, right? Wait for it to pull back. And then if it comes back up, see where price is pushing right now. And look where it came to. I wouldn't be surprised if price blasts right through and then go straight to, TP if that's the case. So yeah, I wouldn't change the criteria that much because that's kind of like changing it a lot in a sense. So just try to keep it simple, Hussein. I know you're trying to get it down, but if you can't get down the basics, you're not going to get down the strategy at all. So try to get down the basics first before you try to incorporate all this extra stuff. Like the stuff that I just mentioned right here, you don't really have to incorporate that because you don't even know the strategy by itself. Once you learn the strategy, then you can start incorporating things where like, if the candle's too big, then avoid it. Or, you have to actually know what the strategy is first before you can actually add stuff to it. Because you haven't gone through like the initial criteria. Once this stuff like makes sense to you, then you can start adding bias, or you can start adding candle size and stuff like that, because you keep trying to learn a lot of stuff at once, and if you do that too much, it's just going to confuse you more. So I just want to make sure that you're like, there's a foundation to it. You learn the foundation here, and then from there, okay, then you can add, okay, if the candle is big, I'll skip it, or if the candle is big, I'll wait for a retracement. Because if you try to incorporate too many things at once, then it's going to be very confusing to you. Yeah, exactly. And Maria said, and besides, there's not enough time to measure the pips in the last 8 seconds. I agree with Maria 100%. The candles move too fast in the last couple of seconds. So you can't really measure it to determine, whether it's going to whether it's going to be 250 pips or whether it's going to be 300 pips. But if I saw the candle moving like that, I would have just skipped it because it's too big. Let's see. Vince said that he missed the V1 at 722. Yeah, there was a V1 variation right here. Double body. Or a quick 100 pips. Yeah, I don't know if anybody caught that, but that was pretty solid right there. All right, let's see if there's anything else here that I am missing. That looks good. All right, so we're pretty much just waiting for another entry here, guys. There's nothing for us to take right now. I'm still looking for something, but there just isn't anything here at the moment. It's 7:30 right now. I was hoping we'd get something today, but I don't know. We're just looking at the markets right now. There's not too much going on. I make some adjustments here. Let's see, question from CJ. So CJ said, I thought there couldn't be a signal on the candle during V1. That's the only reason I didn't take it. So there can't be a signal on the second one. So for example, right here, CJ, see how like this one's a first candle, but your entry would actually happen right here on the, like in between these two. So it's okay to have a signal on this one, but not on the second one. So like say, for example, you have a double body, but this one has a red candle, like any type of signal, a red signal or a buy signal, then you wouldn't be able to take it. But since the entry happens over here, this is like a full-on reversal pattern. So you know how sometimes these momentum signals come up and then they fake out, like for example, right here, right? There's a buy signal right here. You get a V1 variation and it completely reverses. So that's okay because you're basically identifying a fake out. So this right here was a green buy signal, V1 variation, fake out back to the downside. Again, right here, sell signal, V1 variation, fake out back to the upside. So you can take it as long as it's not on the second candle. That's where the criteria comes out from. Because you actually want to identify the fake outs. Because if you identify the fake outs, usually it'll help you push at least 100 pips. Like right here, fake out, V1 variation, at least 100 pips, right, for your TP. And then again, right here, you're basically identifying that this isn't a valid momentum. Well, I mean, it's valid, but it's not like a legit momentum signal. It's kind of just it's a signal there, but you're identifying that it's going to reverse on you. And it makes sense because you're going to trade in the direction of the bias, but you wouldn't have taken both of these here. You would have only taken whatever has a bias. So the bias right now is actually, let me see, it's bearish on the lower time frames, it's still bullish on the higher time frames. Fundamentals here are bearish, or I mean, they're pretty much bearish for the most part. And sentiment over here is bullish. So, I actually wouldn't have taken any of the V1s right there. So Vince did identify that as a V1, but I wouldn't have taken it because there's no bias. You have to have at least some sort of bias before you can take those types of entries. So with that said, I would have just skipped I wouldn't have taken this one and I wouldn't have taken this one either. Even though they both hit, I wouldn't have taken either of them. All right. And this market's kind of boring. I was hoping there would be more movement today because it was Monday. Um, but the market's not really doing too much. A lot of sideways movement. I made decent profit today off that one trade. So I'm not really looking to force anything, but I'm looking for a trade here. If I find something good, obviously I'll take it. But right now there's just no bias. If there was a bias, even better. These biases are contradicting though, because this is a bullish bias. This is somewhat of a sell bias, and then the technicals here are pretty much mixed. Higher time frames are bullish, lower time frames are bearish. So yeah, I don't really see too much going on here. Yeah, I missed this right here. I was waiting for this to play out, break and retest of the 15 on odd USD. This would have been good too. Yeah, it's all good. Yeah, 3-1. Yeah, I've been trading Forex, guys, on this, like, just whenever I see any entries here, I look for like basically the same strategy. Sometimes I look for break and retest. I have 3 charts here open, higher time frames and the lower time frames. I look for these breakouts off these ranges. I mean, I could probably use the same analysis for US30 as well. I just get kind of bored sometimes that I'm looking for entries and there's nothing here, so I just look at other assets. The only Forex asset that I trade now is like odd USD. It's like the one that I like to trade. Moves kind of similar to US30 a little bit. And it's not as like crazy, it's not super volatile. Yeah, so I'm basically just looking for ranges here. And then entries off the 15 in the direction of bias. So what I would look for here, if you guys are looking to trade on the higher time frames of US30, you guys can see that this low over here aligns with 1 hour and 4 hour. So what I would look for here is I look for a break and retest off this area here. If that's the case, then I expect price to continue dropping. Vice versa, if price breaks and closes above, then I'll expect that to shoot higher. So 2 different scenarios right here for US30. But there's just nothing right now. Satyam is asking if I can confirm the bias. Yeah, so the bias right now is pretty mixed, Satyam. As you can see over here on the lower time frames, price is attempting to shift back up. Currently at the moment, the 1 minute's neutral. It's right in between the pivots. 5 minutes currently bearish. 10 minutes currently bearish. Price is below the pivots. Trend meter's red. Pivots are angling down. So on the lower time frames over here, it's bearish. Higher time frames here, it's still bullish. So this here is not really useful to us. It's pretty much neutral. It's going to be neutral with regard to higher and lower time frames. Then looking over here at the fundamentals are currently neutral as well. They're not above or below 100 points. They're currently negative 60, but they're not very strong. And then lastly over here, retail sentiment is currently 61% short. So this indicates that 61% of retail traders are currently selling. And we typically want to do the opposite and buy. So long term looks like we still have a bullish bias. Short term, it looks like it may be bearish, but it might not hold. It might just correct back up because eventually we're going to expect price to swing back up. That's like that's where we're expecting price to go. But at the moment, we don't have anything to confirm that yet. It's really it's just sideways. So we'll have to wait and see where this ends up going. I do think price will push up though. So I think eventually price will push up. It might happen later today. It might happen by tomorrow, but I think eventually price will push up. I think bullish push is definitely what I'm looking for. So that's kind of what you can look out for. So like price is ranging right here. But if price does push up, it's going to reach opening price right there. That's going to be the target area for it. So just keep that in mind. Yeah, I mean, it's not really doing much. As you guys can see over here, we have new higher high, so the range just got tighter down below. So there goes the range now. Price has been ranging sideways for a long time now, about 30 minutes to an hour. So price is going sideways over here. It broke down below. Now it's going sideways again. It's just been sideways pretty much all day. There's been breakouts in both directions, but price is kind of just, once it gets into this range, it just stays, it pretty much sticks there for a while. And now it just looks like price is going to go back and forth within this area. Super boring market, but it's Monday, so it's all good. It is what it is. All right, we got some profits over here from Dejan. So Dejan just sent me his profits. He is made one win today. Looks like he took the buy that we took earlier. Total profit of 1,010 for the day. Nice work, Dejan. So sweet profits right there from Dejan. One full TP, no losses at all. We have Patricia over here. She said not liking this market move right now. Exactly, same here, Patricia. So Patricia said, she's not really liking the market. She locked in a total profit of 1,432, which is solid. I feel the same way. The market's just it's not moving right now. It's going back and forth. I think eventually price will be bullish, but it's just not there right now. It's going to be a matter of time until it does, but for the moment, we just don't really have much going on here. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to put your questions in the chat. Just another reminder, we are having our mentoring session today at 2 o'clock. So if you guys have a more detailed question, you can save it for the session. Otherwise, if you guys have any quick questions, I can answer them right now, depending on what you guys need help with. But at the moment, there's just nothing for us to take here. Price just keeps going back and forth. I think eventually it'll push up, but right now it's just sideways movement. Yeah, let's see. It's been ranging right now for about 30 minutes. So it's been in this range down here about 30 minutes. And it was up in this range over here for 30 minutes too. 30 minutes, breakout, fake out, came back down, another 30-minute range down here. And now it's just consolidating. Hussein's asking, Sean, do you take any trades for the day after being stopped out of a trade? No. Whenever I lose a trade, I'm usually done for the day because I don't usually lose trades. If I lose a trade, then I know that the market's not moving in my favor. Because typically I know where the market's going. So if I know where the market's going, the market still stops me out, then I'm typically done for the day. That's how I develop my discipline and consistency. So if you look at our trades from May, I didn't have any losses. But if I did have a loss, I would have stopped trading for that day. Because either if I ever lose a trade, I know it's either the market's not working in my favor or my trade psychology is just not there. So I know something's off. So if I ever lose one trade, I'm just done for the day. Usually I don't lose trades because I'm taking like 1 or 2 trades a day, but they're both quality trades. Like I don't just take random trades. I take trades only if they fit my criteria and if they're quality in my opinion. So if that's a problem for a lot of you guys, like if you guys have problems with over trading and revenge trading, then if you ever have one loss, and just call it a day. It's better to save your account and continue trading the next day versus attempting to get yourself out of that hole in one day and then blowing your account. Because I've seen a lot of people do that. They'll have like win streaks. Well, they'll just win like every single day. And then once they have that one loss, their trade psychology just goes out the window and they end up losing a bunch of trades. And then they ended up with a blown account. So, my advice is if you guys have problems with over trading or revenge trading, just close out if you have one loss. Because usually like once you have a loss, that's when your trade psychology starts to get tested. because you start to take dumb trades, or you start to force stuff, or you take stuff that's not even there, because you're so focused on getting your money back that you end up, making a ton of mistakes. Yeah, exactly. Andrew said just happened to me, lost my challenge, lesson learned. Yeah, same with Andrew. So Andrew was doing perfect, then he like blew his challenge after making some revenge trades. So it happens to everybody, it's not just, if it happens to you guys, you're not the only person it's happening to. Trust me. A lot of people are just too scared to mention it, but I know there's a lot of people that it happens to every day. Question from Hussein. So Hussein's asking, so for winning, there's no max count. Like if you had a winner, you'll continue trading, but if you lose, you'll stop for the day. So I only trade till 8, Hussein. So if it doesn't happen till 8, I'm done. If I lose a trade by 8, I'm done. I think that's a problem with a lot of people too. They don't know when to stop. Like for me, I have a set schedule. I trade from 6:30 to 8, and then I'm done. Some people want to trade from 6:30 until noon, right? For the entire New York session. Well, when you trade that way, you start to overtrade. So for me, there's not really a max count, but I typically don't take like 20 trades a day, right? If you look at all my trades for the past month and stuff like that, I only take like 1 or 2 trades, Hussein. So there's not really a max count, but I'm not taking like 20 trades, right? If you look at all my profits every single day, let's see. So, okay, last week I took 2 trades, right? On Friday, Thursday, I took 1 trade. Day before that, I took 2 trades, or just 1 trade. There's not really a max count. It's just you can only get so many trades between 6:30 and 8. I'm not going to take a bunch of trades from 6:30 to 8. So short answer to your question is there's a time limit for me, but there's no specific max count of trades. If I see like 4 or 5 trades between 6:30 and 8 that are all quality to me, I'll take all of them. But most of the time, they're not going to be quality. It's going to be hard for you to find a quality trade like that, especially if the market's going sideways, or even if it's moving very volatile. The candle is either going to be too big, like you're going to get big candles like this, and then you can't take the trade, just like what we mentioned earlier, right? There was an entry that came up earlier, like this one. It hit CP, but I wouldn't have taken it because the candle was too big. So that wouldn't have been quality for me. So yeah, there's no max kind of trades. It's just, if it doesn't happen till 8, then I'm done. I'm not going to stay on the charts from like 8 until like 9 or 10, and then continue trading. Let's see if there's anything else here. All right, let's see what else we got here. So there's just no trades for us to take. It's currently 742 right now. Still nothing for us to take here. It's still in this range. So like I'm trying to wait for it to break out of this range, but there's just nothing here. Like I want to take a buy here, but it's just ranging back and forth between this high and this low. Yeah, exactly. Andrew said volume died down a lot. I agree. Let's see. Hussein said, I'm asking because you have a negative risk toward when you lose 1.5, when you win, it's 5. So 1 winner taken in a day would mean 3 days to recover. I don't think you get it. That's the thing. So you're right with what you're saying, but you're saying that I'm only taking 1 trade a day, right? Because you said it would take 3 days to recover, right? It's not going to take 3 days because I'm taking like 2 or 3 trades. So if I'm taking 2 or 3 trades a day, then I'm getting it right back. It takes 1 day to recover. So I think you like to overcomplicate things. It seems like, because you overcomplicate like the strategy, and then you try to think too much about like losing. But like we haven't lost. If you look at the month of May, we haven't lost 1 trade. So the results here speak for themselves. You look for the month of June over here, we had 3 wins, 0 losses. Month of May, 16 wins, 0 losses. Month of April, 18 wins, 2 losses. Like the data speaks for itself, right? So you gotta like don't lose. That's the thing. I think the thing is like you're too scared to lose, and if you're too scared to lose, then trading is not for you, right? The thing with trading, guys, is that you have to understand that losses are going to happen. But if you're not confident with your trading, you're going to lose because you're not there. Like your trade psychology is just not there. But I mean, I've been trading for years, Hussein. So like, yeah, for you, it doesn't make sense. For me, it makes sense. It makes sense to everybody here because everybody's been here for like months, if not years. I have data of like live trades for like the past 5 years. So I know the system works. If it didn't work, people wouldn't be here, right? So I mean, it's all about mindset. Guys, if you have a loser mindset, then you're gonna lose a trade, and you're not gonna be successful because you can't trade this type of way. That's why I was saying like my strategy doesn't fit everybody's trading style, right? Like I can do it, and you guys see me do it every day, but just because I'm doing it doesn't mean that everybody can do it. So I mean, if you're too worried about that, Hussein, then you just got to make a decision, right? Is this your trading style or not? Because if it's not, then you should just figure something else, like a different strategy to learn. Because if this is too much of a headache for you, which is fine, this isn't for everybody. You just got to find a different type of strategy. For me, I don't like losing trades. So like for me, I could use a negative risk reward because I don't like losing. And I win almost every single trade. But if you have like a loser mindset, like your mindset's like, okay, I want to lose like X amount of trades per day or per week or per whatever, this type of strategy is not going to work for you. So let's see. Yeah, exactly. Hussein said I've been taking stop losses frequently while I traded before, but risk reward was better. Yeah, that's a different type of trading style. Yeah, no, exactly. That's what I'm telling you, Hussein. Like this, if you ever look at people who trade, like there's nobody who really trades like me, and there's nobody that really has like the type of win rate that I have because like they're taking every single trade. Like with what Hussein mentioned, before he was taking a lot of stop losses because he was probably taking a lot of trades per day. I take like one or two trades, maybe three trades a day, but they all win. The thing is, if you're taking every single trade, if you're taking like 10, 20 trades a day and they're all losing, it's the same thing. You're doing the same thing I'm doing, right? It's just that you have a different win rate. Like your win rates is lower, but you make like you'll lose like 10 trades and then you'll have like one trade that will bring it right back up. For me, I'll have like 10 trades, they'll all win, and then maybe I'll have like two losses and it'll bring it back to break even. It's the same thing, it's just opposite risk to reward. It's either you're gonna win a lot or you're gonna lose a lot, but eventually it's gonna balance out. So the strategies are a little different. It's just way different. Scalping is different. It's not like intraday trading or swing trading. Rav, I'm surprised to see you here, Rav. Rav said it does take 3 days to recover. So I don't know if you listened to what I just said right now, Rav, but I just explained why it's not 3 days to recover. No, I'm surprised you're still here, Rav, because I haven't seen you in a while. Yeah, Maria said, maybe this style of trading is not for you, saying we are scalpers. Yeah, scalping is different, guys. So like, if you want to scalp, I've been scalping and, obviously the system works. It works for a lot of people, but scalping isn't for everybody. So just keep that in mind, guys. So you guys should never force a trading style on you. Like I'm not a swing trader, so I'm not gonna teach you guys how to swing trade. I could swing trade, but I'm not a swing trader. I don't have the trade psychology to hold on to a trade for like a couple of days or a couple of weeks, and then it ends up hitting stop loss. So I just end up wasting a whole week on like one trade. So, everybody's a little different. So what I would recommend, not just to you, Hussein, but everybody else is like, find a trading style that works for you and find somebody that trades that trading style and then just learn from them. Like if you guys like to scalp, if you guys like the way that I trade, because I only trade from 6:30 to 8. I trade from like about an hour a day. And then I probably make the same amount of profit as like a lot of other traders out there, if not more. It's just, you got to find out which trading style is for you because you don't want to force yourself to trade a way that you don't like. Like certain people will force something and it just never works for them. That's why you'll see people who trade for like 4 or 5 years and they're still not profitable because they try to force a trading style that doesn't work for them. And then that might be you, right? Like if you've been trading with somebody, not necessarily me, but if you've been trading with somebody and you're still not profitable, you might need to change the trading style because it's just not for you. Because I've seen a lot of people who come into this group and they try to swing trade for so many years. And then they trade with me for a week and they're like the most profitable they've ever been from trading because they just realize that they're a scalper. They're not a swing trader. So I'm usually follow on like one on either side of the spectrum. You're either a scalper or you're a swing trader. Sometimes you could be an intraday trader in between, but most of the time that's going to fall under swing trading too. Because they're like, you don't have trade psychology to hold on to a trade for like a few seconds. All right, guys, back to the charts. I mean, it's okay. We haven't missed anything. There's nothing going on. Price is still ranging right here. So it's just going sideways. So I know we kind of went off track right here answering questions, but it's fine. There's nothing that we've missed. Price is still going sideways here. But yeah, no, like back to what I was saying earlier, because Rabo here also mentioned that it doesn't take 3 days to recover, because unless you're taking only one trade a day, then it's gonna, and if you're not taking a liquidity push is 1-to-1, right? If you're taking a liquidity push for 300 pips, it's a 1-to-1. So it doesn't take 3 days to recover. It takes one trade to recover. But if you're doing the other scalps, like liquidity pushes that happen after the open, or if you take any of these other trades here, like the high low momentum scalping, yeah, it's going to take you X amount of trades to recover. But the thing is, we haven't lost a trade in like a month, more than a month. So if you do the math here, I mean, it's basic math, guys. Like, Rad, if you do the math here, or Hussein, if you do the math, we took how many trades here? So since May, we've taken 19 wins, right? And not all of them were 0.5% gains, because a lot of these were liquidity pushes. So if you took every trade between May and June, you'd be up like almost 20% right now. You would have passed your challenge guaranteed between May and June. So I mean, it just depends, guys. Like, I could explain basic math to you guys like over and over and over again, but it's like you do the math and it should work. But it's just up to your preference. All right. So there's nothing really going on here, guys. If there's any questions, just let me know. It's 7:51 right now, so we're probably gonna wrap this up soon. I mean, there's just nothing for us to take. There's a possible high-low momentum scalp coming up right here, but I don't know how it'll close. You got about 30 seconds left on it. The candle doesn't look very strong, so I don't think it'll even close. Let's take a look at the bias again. Still kind of bearish around the lower time frames, and you can see right there, it just pulled right back up. So it does not look like it's going to close with that sell signal there. And there's a high low in between too. Yeah, Dan's right. Let's see, Saeed said, I cannot swing the zero. Braving makes my heart sink. Leaving money for long on table makes me worry about it all the time. But I respect swing traders. Yeah, and I agree with you too, Saeed. Like, for me, I don't like swing trading because, like what Saeed said, he can't stomach like leaving money on the table. For me, I like scalping because I'm in and out of the trades within like a few seconds or a few minutes. I don't have to be holding on to the trades for too long. I'm just in and out super quickly. So that's why I like scalping, because I can just be on the charts, be focused for 1 hour, take my trade, and then be done for the day. Versus if you guys are a day trader or a swing trader, you can hold on to that position pretty much all day. And then if you lose the trade at the end of the day, you basically wasted your entire day, right? I'd rather just know right away if I won or lost versus waiting hours or even waiting weeks to see if your trade would play out. And the thing is, right now is not a good intraday or swing market. If you look at a lot of these other traders around that used to swing trade, a lot of them are scalping now. So I'm not going to name their names, but if you look at a lot of these traders who used to be swing traders, like trading on the 4 hour and stuff, everybody scalps now. I've been scalping for like 5 years. It's like everyone kind of just jumped onto this wave recently where they try to scalp, but they still don't scalp the same way I do. They scalp slightly differently. Here. Let's see, Johnny's asking, is there an FTMO quick trade app on mobile? Not that I know of, Johnny. I think it's only on the computer. So you'd have to, I mean, I don't even trade on my phone, and I don't really recommend it unless you really have to. But yeah, I don't think there's a quick trade manager for the phone, because you can't use any like third-party platforms or anything like that. The phone app is like way different. Yeah, you'd have to type in the actual number. I know it's annoying, Johnny. Yeah, if you're trading on your phone, you'd either have to do it manually, just enter it and then close it manually, or you'd have to put in the actual numbers, like the price. All right, guys, it's about to be 5 minutes till 8. So there's no entries for us. There was a high level momentum scalp that came up right here, but it came up very last minute. There was a higher low in between, a high low right here that Dan mentioned. But since this candle broke and closed below it, it actually pushed it down further. So there's no longer a high low in between. So this right here would have been a high level momentum scalp. However, it's not necessarily the one that I would be looking to take because obviously, as we discussed, price is just ranging right here. So the trade's still technically running, not in the position, not when I personally take myself, because I don't like trading when price is going sideways like this. Because when it's going sideways like this, it can easily just fake out and swing right back up, or it can come down and blast right through your TP. Like anything could really happen when price is ranging like this. Plus, it's been ranging for about 50 minutes now. So not really seeing too much here. Andrew said slow, slight trend at opening price and continue up from there. Lots of liquidity, right? Let me see what Andrew mentioned. Slow, slight trend to opening and continue up from there. There's a lot of liquidity. There is up top. So like, yeah, there's a lot of liquidity sitting right there, but it's pretty far. And so I don't think this is going to hit right now. It's probably going to take a while before it comes up to that point. Price is currently down here right now. First level of liquidity is about 1,300 pips away. The volume is very low, so there's not too much movement. It's kind of just going, it's going sideways. So I'm not really expecting it to push up that far within the next 30 minutes to an hour, maybe not even until like the end of the session. But eventually, yeah, when price does reach this point, Andrew, it's going to hit a lot of liquidity right there. CJ said, yeah, I passed my challenge last week with only 2 losses for the month. At the time of each loss, I was still in profit, so recovery wasn't an issue. Just focus on the overall number of wins instead of profits, and you'll save yourself a lot of stress. Also, make sure you don't set your lot size too high. Yeah, so like what CJ said over here is, he passed his challenge last month. He only had 2 losses for the whole month. So the thing was, he was already in profit, so he was never really recovering. He was kind of just bouncing back from the small loss that he took, and then he still passed. So going back to what CJ mentioned here, the main focus with trading, if you're going to trade the style that I trade, guys, is just focus on winning. Don't focus on the profits. Even if you go for partial profits or if you go for full profits, if you just keep winning and you don't have losses, it's going to add up. And then by the end of the month, you'll be funded or you'll be getting payouts. That's really the mindset that you guys need if you guys are going to be scalping. Because if you're too focused on like making X amount of profit per day or taking X amount of trades per day, you're probably not going to do well scalping, because scalping is a totally different game. It's not like swing trading where you can like really gauge your win percentage because you're taking like a trade a week and then you're taking like a big risk on it. Because if you're risking like 3 to 5% on a swing trade, it's going to be the same amount of risk as if you're scalping. It's just you're going to take longer to lose your trade if it does lose. Here's Andy over here. Total profit of 133 for the day. Nice work, Andy. And I think that might be it. So if you guys have any other questions or if you guys have profit to post up, feel free to send them in. Otherwise, we're going to wrap this up for the day, guys. It's about to be 2 minutes till 8, and there's not really anything going on here. Price is still ranging within this area. And I don't know, price may just continue. Looks like price might just continue dropping, actually. That's what it kind of looks like. Price is below. If you guys are looking to take a sell here, I would look on the 15-minute, look for the break and retest. So price is breaking below right here. Look for the retest, and if it continues to drop, it's probably going to shift in bias. So we'll see. The bias right now is still, go back real quick. Yeah, the bias over here on the lower time frames is bearish. The higher time frames are still kind of neutral. 30-minute is starting to shift though. So 30-minute is neutral, it's shifting to bearish, but the 1 hour and 4 hour is still bullish. So I'd probably stay out the market unless you guys have to really trade. I'd probably stay out the market, but if you guys do want to trade, just keep in mind that there is possible opportunity there if you guys do decide to hop in. So. All right, guys, I think that's it for today. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out. Just a reminder, we're having our mentoring session today at 2 p.m. So I'm going to step away for a bit, take a break, come back in a few hours, and then we will be back here for our group mentoring session. So, all right, guys, if there's any questions, reach out. Otherwise, I will see you guys back here tomorrow. I'll see you guys back here later for the mentoring session, and I'll see you later tomorrow if you guys don't make